Hello authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Hello authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with award-winning middle grade and young adult fiction author Shirley Marr on Character Voice. Shirley has recently won the Western Australian Premier's Book Awards Prize for Writing for Children with her middle grade magic realism novel A Glasshouse of Stars. In the interview, Shirley shares how she came to write such compelling character voices and how she manages to keep those voices represented through the pages of her book, why she chose to write in second-person point of view and what she wanted to achieve through using this character style, how author voice differs from character voice, as well as sharing her tips for authors looking to create and capture their characters' voices on the page and more. So in my author adventure this past fortnight, I am still formatting my books, my non-fiction books. But as I said, the print has been put aside. I'm focusing on the audiobook format, which I am using the print book to review the audiobook and make sure that they match. Because as I said in the last episode, my process is quite chaotic and these projects have been around. Honestly, I had to go back and look at when I first contacted people like the cover designer and my editor, and it was back in 2020, so this has been going on for like a 2-year period, not happening full time all the time. As you can see, it's taken me, goodness, almost about 3 or 4 months when I started the formatting to get back on track, so it's a big process. Anyways, it is going ahead. I hope that the audiobook formats will be done over the weekend, and then the ebook and the print I know is not going to be done until I'd say at least the end of July, due to having to upload fresh covers and waiting for the postal period of it coming back and forth for review and things like that. So I have been out and about lately, networking as they call it. I was very sad. We were supposed to be due to go on up north in Western Australia, a trip with the family in our caravan, and unfortunately my husband just had carpal tunnel wrist surgery, and that was supposed to happen back in May, and that got postponed because of COVID, and and then it got postponed again till this week. Thank goodness that our trip has been cancelled, obviously, but there's no way he would be able to drive anyway, so I think all round it was probably quite a good thing in the end. But I never booked this year. Every year for like the past 5 years I've attended the Squibby West Rottnest Writing Retreat, although it was set in a different part of Western Australia this year, in Mandurah, which is still a beautiful place, and that was last weekend, and I chose not to go because I was trying to avoid COVID for this up north trip. And I also thought it was too close to my husband's surgery, and I contracted COVID in May, and obviously my husband's surgery happened this week, so I could have gone, which is a bit sad, but never mind. Instead, a big thank you to Cindy Lane, if she's listening. She's a very talented artist that we have here in Western Australia. She asked if I wanted to be her date to the WA Premier Book Awards, and it's by invitation only. And I, of course, said yes. And so I linked arms with Cindy, and we went off and schmoozed with Western Australians' finest. It was quite good. I knew a lot of people there actually, and it was quite funny to see the children's genre people that I know, and obviously the West Australian literary group as well that I have come to know through obviously ECU and interning at Westerly magazine, and just really cool, and obviously conducting these interviews as well. And it was just a really wonderful evening. There's a lot more coming up, but I think I'll save it for next time. So if you love the podcast or any of the episodes has helped you further in your author career, you can now pay it forward by buying me a coffee over at www.buymeacoffee.com/ capital T on the, and all capitals hybrid, capital A author. So the hybrid author. www.buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor, and it's capitalized how I have the podcast, and with hybrid being fully capitalized and the first letter of the and author capitalized also. A friend of mine picked it up and said, I couldn't find you over at Buy Me a Coffee, but I think that's the problem, is it's got to be capitalized. So if anyone else has had an issue with finding me at Buy Me a Coffee, it is www.buymeacoffee.com/capitalized T for the, all capitals, hybrid, capital A for author, the hybrid author.
Shirley Marr is a first-generation Chinese-Australian living in Perth and an author of young adult and children's fiction, including YA novels Fury and Pre-Loved, and children's novels Little Jing and A Glass House of Stars. She describes herself as having a Western mind and an Eastern heart. She likes to write in the space in the middle where they both collide, basing her stories on her own personal experiences of migration and growing up in Australia, along with the folk and fairy tales from her mother. Arriving in mainland Australia from Christmas Island as a 7-year-old in the 1980s and experiencing the good, the bad, and the wonder that comes with culture shock, Shirley has been in love with reading and writing from that early age. Shirley is a universe full of stars and stories and hopes to share the many other novels that she has beside her. Truly magical bio, Shirley. Welcome to the Hybrid Author Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jo. You're much too kind. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's wonderful. It's very nostalgic. I just love it. So can you tell us, was it this early love of reading which shaped your aspirations to become a talented storyteller and writer that you are and write in the children's and young adult fiction genre?
Well, it's very kind of you to call me talented writer. But to answer your question, the answer is a definite yes. Writing has always been like a solace to me, and especially in my early years. And one of my favourite memories is in grade 2 when our teacher would sit us on this little rug in front of the class and she'd read to us The Magic Faraway Tree. And I was absolutely hooked by this story. I was taken in by the whole experience. And in my heart, I wanted to write stories like that too. And combined with the innocence of that experience, I just wanted to write children's books.
Fantastic. And you have a young family yourself. Do you read The Faraway Tree to your young family at all?
I have a young son. He's 8. He likes to read books like Dog Man and Cat Man. That's more his jam. So probably not The Faraway Tree, but I will try and sell and suggest it to him and see what he thinks.
Oh, wonderful. Well, today's topic is character voice, and we're focusing on your middle grade novel, A Glass House of Stars. And there are so many distinct characters created in this work. And I have to say, I loved them all. And I found that each of them had such strong, memorable voices, and they just didn't waver throughout the story. And, do you have a process when you tackle your novels, or this one in particular, I guess, when it comes to creating your characters and for making sure that, they're there and still staying strong, their voice is true throughout the work?
So I have a secret.
Ooh, hope you're going to share.
I'm going to share. But, might not have any friends or many popular family members after this. So what I do is I tend to base my characters on people I know. And that's including basing them on myself. So because I feel like if I have a reference point for my character and that's with a real person, then that makes my characters feel authentic and real. So in A Glass House of Stars, Mei is loosely based on me and the 2 friends that she makes, Kevin and Josh, based on the 2 kids that I had in my class in grade 2. So I came to Australia in the early 80s. Apart from myself, there were only 2 other migrants in my class, one Vietnamese and one Lebanese kid. And so I based them on those kids that I knew. So that's where the characters came from. And all the other side characters, like the mother in the story, the aunts and Eileen, they're all based on people I know as well. Some of them based on a singular person, some of them are mashups of people I know. But that's my secret technique to get characters sounding consistent and real. Space them on real.
Yeah. So, well, as your family, is anybody from who you've, secretly based the characters on, have they read the book? Have they picked up on that or not so much?
To date, nobody has said anything or complained or even said, hey, I think that's me. I think I must have sort of altered them in such a way that people don't recognize themselves. So, like, I've gotten away with it. So I'm thinking, continue using this technique because it's working for me.
And there's nothing in there that, people wouldn't own in the characters, there's nothing bad or anything like that.
Oh, so. No. I don't tend to have sort of like outright baddies in any of my books. They're usually people up against obstacles. So I don't write like all my enemies into my books or anything like that. And the people that I do write are like characters that I personally love and want to spend time with. So, it's for the positive. Nothing bad.
That's great. So when you're writing, we're obviously talking about character point of view rather than your writing process. So I'm not sure how you tackle your writing process with scenes or how you go about writing the story. I suppose when you are doing the scenes, you're having that person that you base the character off in mind. So that's how you stay on track with that character's voice then? Do you go back at all in any edits or drafts and specifically edit for a character voice as you go along to check you haven't gone off track or anything like that?
Oh, there's definitely a lot of tracking and like back checking and everything as well. And with editors that I work with as well, they're very good at picking up when I have a character that goes off voice or off character, and they'll point it out really quickly.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's hard when you're juggling so many characters. So that's where you have editors, and they're really good at picking up those small little things that you might miss. Because sometimes, like, I have characters and there's something they won't do, but they end up doing, and then someone points it out to me and I go, yeah, you're right. So,
well, that's good to know. That's peace of mind.
Editors, shout out to all the editors. They're wonderful because, like, I do the writing, but they do all the finessing and the pulling together. The editors.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, there's one thing in the book that is so different, and probably the first book I've read that's written in this point of view, which was second person. And I felt like that really provided a connection to the characters for me. How did you come to choose that character style? And can you tell us, was there something you were hoping to achieve with that by writing in that point of view?
Okay, so as the story goes, and I'll tell it from the beginning, I tried the two other, as you would call them, traditional voices, the first person and the third person. But I just found that they just weren't working for the story. Like first person somehow made it too personal, and it felt like I was telling like diary to myself, and I was like, no. And third person just felt like I was telling the story from like a stranger's point of view, and it just felt too distant. So I thought, well, maybe this story just isn't going to be told. So I left it at that. But luck would have it, I was on a holiday in Broome and I had finished the book I had packed. So I went to the op shop there, and by chance I found a book called Dead Girls by Nancy Lee. It's a book of short stories, and the first one was written in the second voice. And I read it and I was blown away by this, because I thought that second voice was like only choose your own adventure stories. Yeah. And that often went like, you're in a tunnel of doom, you have to die. The left exit, or do you choose the right?
Or how-tos or recipes, you now put the flour in the cup or something. Yeah, that's the only way.
Mechanical. And this was the first time that I'd seen the second voice used in such a literary, like, beautiful fashion. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to give it a go. Like, the story's not working anyway, so what do I have to lose? And naturally, when I told my friends this, my writer friends, bless them all, shout out to them, they just thought I'd lost my mind, because nobody uses the second voice. Nobody. But I just thought, okay, I have confidence that this might work.
Yeah.
if it does, it's going to be something.
So the writers that you consult, did they worry about it being too different, or did they pick up about how you are instantly connected? Did they not think that was amazing from that connection, or were they worried about sort of the rules of publishing?
Yeah, I think they, like me, hadn't seen it done in any other context rather than sort of like a very mechanical, this is what you're doing sort of fashion. So they were skeptical, and I don't blame them. Like if somebody told me that, I would be skeptical as well, because I've never seen it done well.
Yeah.
So, and it was risky because I don't know how many publishers out there would want to take on a book like that. I thought the chances were probably 0, but I persisted anyway because I felt like this story needs to be written this way. So I did it regardless, because I think at the end of the day, as a writer, you have to do what you love and what you believe in, and not just think about, okay, is it going to get picked up? Is it going to sell? Is it going to make me any money? Is anyone going to believe in it? So I wrote it more for myself, and what I wanted to achieve with it was actually put the reader into the shoes of a young migrant child, and for them to feel what it's like to walk in her shoes and see out of her eyes. And I just thought, okay, I believe in that, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. And honestly, well, you achieved it because you did it so well. And I just felt right there with the characters. Yeah, it was just incredible. It blew me away. It really did.
Oh,
so, yeah. Do you think that you'll approach any other works in that manner again, or taking risks? Because you took this risk and it kind of paid off. Do you think you will be a bit of a risk taker with future works?
I feel like with each work, I want to challenge myself and do something different and grow as a writer. So I'm not sure if I will use the second voice again. It all depends on the story I'm trying to tell, but I won't rule out the possibility altogether, because I'm all for experimentation and doing something a little bit different to what's out there, and showing people that, yes, it can be done. You can be a little bit different. You don't have to be cookie cutter in order to get published and recognized for it.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, that's good advice to authors out there if they want to play up with their ideas and in different styles and different way, and see what it comes out as like that. Yeah, that's a great tip. So backtracking what you said, which is quite funny, but so you get your inspiration from real people and then kind of channel that into your characters' voices. So there's often talk in the writing world around author's voice. And I was going to ask, like, how do you believe, your author's voice is different from your character's voice? But I feel like in this case, because it's kind of you and your own personal experiences, maybe you've joined them together. Or do you think sometimes they become one and the same, even if it's not your story or it's something completely different?
I actually believe that they're two separate things, but they can be so complementary that they can blend into one depending on the story. So I see the author's voice as how you choose to tell the story, your motivation in telling it, and what you choose to include and what you choose to leave out. And I believe the character voice is the mouthpiece you use to go about it. And with like a second voice, I feel like they're so closely aligned. They are almost the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think if you use other tenses, like if you use like a first person or a third person, you'll find that there's a bit of a split. And they are two separate things, but I think the trick is to make them both aligned and harmonious with each other. And I'm only saying that because with the character voice, I find that sometimes I create like a character and they would do stuff, they'll say stuff that I would never do or say in real life. There's like a divergence, and characters can take a life of their own. Like I'd say me and Mei are quite similar in terms of like who we are, but we're also quite different as well. It's important to recognize characters as similar but separate entities to the author.
Yeah, no, that's good points there. With your editorial team picking up on whether you stray from character voice, had they ever picked up that they've felt something's your author voice, that, that's more coming through as you, rather than the character, or not so much like flip it on its head?
Kind of like coming across as more of my
more of yourself in the other characters, I suppose, by accident.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that has happened like a few times, like when you sort of like slip from the character that you're in and you kind of become a little bit more of yourself, and that's not right for the character. Yeah, I'm sure I've done that a few times, maybe like in the first draft, but then I quickly backtracked and said, look, this isn't about me, this is about the character and the story I'm choosing to tell. So I'm just going to backspace that and get rid of that bit, because I think it's unfair if I put all my opinions and how I feel about something, like certain topics, into a book, because I feel like that's pushing like a own personal agenda, whereas a book should be neutral and it's going to say, look, this is a story I'm going to tell you, but it's for you to make up your mind whether you believe in what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's it. I just find when I'm writing sometimes, like if I'm writing obviously a character, and sometimes I suppose when you can go quite deep into them, I feel a bit uncomfortable. I don't know why, like whether it is you're slipping into somebody else, but it feels uncomfortable, I suppose, because there's things that, like you said, they do and say that has nothing to do with you. So maybe you feel a bit like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Like, oh, but I'm writing these people that are doing it. Like, it just feels a bit awkward. Maybe that means you're doing it right.
I think it means you're doing it right. You're pushing out of your comfort zone.
Oh, I hope so.
And I think as an author, that's important as well, because you're growing, right? You're putting your shoes into other people's shoes and just going for a walk, what you can do with that voice and the story you can tell. So
yeah, no, that's a good point. Our book club had read, I don't know if you've ever read any, and I always say her name wrong, Jodie, is it Picoult? I always say Picoulty. Yeah, and it's called Small Great Things. Have you ever read that before?
Is that her latest?
No, I think it's kind of older, but that is told from 3 different points of view, and it's not a children's one, but it's about it's like a racial thing, and so there's like a black nurse, a white supremacist, and a lawyer. Like, it's told from their points of views. It's just I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to look at different characters and voices, and obviously not in the children's. She said that she had to, every time she wrote the white supremacist's character, like any scenes he was in, she had to go and have a shower, and she felt really quite sick stuff that he was doing, because so that was quite full on as well.
Amazing. I've read some of her other works, but not that one in particular, so I must check it out.
Yeah, I've been and seen her before, and she's got so many books. It's always really strong topic. They're not always really happy. They're not happy books, in my opinion. So it's hard to.
And I think what she's doing is very important, because her books are always topical, and it gets people talking and discussing, and I think that's very, very important in storytelling.
Yeah, that's correct. That is. So do you have any tips that you can share with our hybrid authors looking to create and capture their characters' voices on the page? Obviously, apart from following around family members with notebooks and...
But you have to be very discreet when you do. You have to put on a disguise, like glasses and moustache.
That's it, yes.
I think the most important tip, I believe, is always to be authentic when you're writing. I'm always on about authenticity. I know as authors, we write fiction, we're allowed to make stuff up, but I think it's about drawing on like universal human experiences as well you have as a person, and like sharing that with your readership. So our book club, The Secret 7, I'm going to share a pearl of wisdom from Kate McCaffrey, actually, which I feel like I'm really aligned with. So she was talking about her first book, Destroying Avalon, which is about cyberbullying. She's never been cyberbullied before, but then she would have students say to her, "Miss, how do you write? Can you write a book if you've never experienced it before?" I read the book and I just found the voice of the protagonist so realistic. Like, I really believed that this was a young girl being targeted. So I was really interested in like how she came about writing this voice and making it so real. So she hadn't experienced cyberbullying. She was honest about that. Like a lot of people has experienced like just school ground bullying as a child. So she just drew on those experiences, you know, the feeling of not wanting to go to school, twisted feelings in your gut, the fear, all of that. And then she just infused her character with that. And like, I think we can all understand what it's like to be like a target, be seen in a negative light, to be attacked through like words and like physicality for no reason. I think that was like, and I really believe in authenticity. And I think she brought that to the character because she was able to draw on, you know, universal experiences, not specifically to one thing. But at the end of the day, we all go through different experiences, but we all go through the same feeling. And if you can tap into that, then people will read your books and they will go, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I feel it. This is real to me.
That's it. That's really good advice, actually. And I'm glad that you touched on that, because it's been in my mind recently, writing from someone else's perspective, I suppose, and trying to adopt that voice and not being that person or having that experience. Would you suggest that you work with somebody who is, say, either from that background or had that experience to try and capture that character voice for those who are writing, say, something that they maybe, or on a topic they haven't experienced, I suppose? It's best to kind of follow up with research and chatting to people who have that voice, I suppose.
In terms of writing, well, I guess like voices that aren't your own, I'm 100% for that. I believe we need more diverse voices. We need stories told from people that you don't normally hear stories being told for. And I am 100% okay with somebody who isn't that person telling that story, as long as it is going back to the topic of authenticity, as long as it's authentic, whether they've consulted people in that community for advice while they're writing or they conduct deep research. And I think as long as you become like an ally and like a positive voice for the story that you're trying to tell for these group of people, I'm all for it. We need more of it. I think as long as it's well researched and not sort of just gone in there because the author just wants to, you know.
Think it's current and it's going to sell because they write this way or something.
Yeah. And that's wrong, but I'm all for it being done right.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. No, that's fantastic. So backtracking, you mentioned your fabulous editorial team who helps you on your journey when you stray from character voice. So you're currently published with Penguin for the Glass House of Stars. So can you tell us about how your publishing journey with them and how's that been?
I feel like my books are quite traditional in the sense, so that's why I've pursued the traditional route. And it's been like a good learning experience for me, working with like really good editors that are really, really good at what they're doing and they've been in the industry for years. So I think it's helped me grow as an author. At the same time, I don't believe that the traditional route is the only route as well. Hybrid authorship, self-publishing are also very viable routes. And I think it's all based on what type of book you write and what journey you want to take with the book. My friend, author, and another member of the Secret Seven book club, Christy Nita Brown, she's written a book called Looking for Lily, kids book. And she's about to embark on a self-published book journey because she wants to be indie, she wants control of her product, and she wants to be able to do things like small eco print runs, hand numbering her books. And for her, I believe that's the right journey. And I think it's fantastic what she's doing.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think, there's definitely, I'm someone who's looking for a traditional deal with children's fiction, but I do self-publish non-fiction because, again, it's personal experience. I have skills in that area and want control of that. But also there's some ideas that I've had where they're a bit outrageous. And I just think, I don't know if I'd bother trying to pitch the traditional publishers with it because I just don't think that it's for them. So I can totally think, yes, that you can see an idea, you can see a book and be like, yes, that's definitely something that could fit there, and then something else that's not. Would your work so far have been the traditional publishing route? Would you ever consider going down the hybrid author route and maybe self-publishing any works in the future? Or you like how things are going and you're doing fabulously well at this point? So yeah.
But it's interesting because after I'd finished writing A Glass House of Stars, because it was a little bit out there with the second voice, like I thought, well, I'm going to try to get an agent with this book because I could just give it a go, because I guess that's the first port of call, see if I could find like an agent, traditional publishing. But at the back of my mind, I was thinking it's a little bit kind of off center at the same time. And look, at the end of the day, I'm proud of the book. And if I don't find an agent and I don't get a traditional publisher, I probably would look into avenues of getting it self-published just to get the book out there. And just because like a big publishing house doesn't believe that your work is for them, and that's fair enough, doesn't mean that it's not a story that deserves to be out there. With me, I do have a lot of like strange ideas. So I think if I ever came to a situation where like a publisher would look at my stuff and go, look, it's a little bit not for us. It's too weird. It's too, whatever this is. Then I think I would at that point think, what are my other options? And I would look into those options.
Yeah, never say never.
No, never. There's always more than one way to do something. That's what I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, well, that's amazing. Well, yes, congratulations on all your success to date anyway, Shirley. What can we expect from you in the future? Are you back in the YA zone, still writing middle grade? Is there a sequel to A Glass House of Stars?
Okay. I can...
Are you allowed to disclose anything?
Okay. So at the moment, I'm in the midst of editing a new manuscript. It's completely uncontracted, so it's brand new, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything about it yet, but maybe I can give you a clue. I've not said anything about this on any sort of like official channel.
It's weird. So, it's weird and wonderful.
Did I tempt you with a clue?
Yes. Definitely.
Okay, so at the moment, it's got a really bad title. I don't know what it's about with me and titles, but I can never come up with a good title. So it ends up being like, I think my writing process is actually shorter than the process of actually coming up with decent titles. Like, I just think about it for a long time. Never works. So instead of a title, I refer to it as my Adele book. Okay. So think about what Adele's latest album is inspired by. Well, my book is about the same thing. So that's your clue.
Yeah. No, and I know her new song or album well. My kids walk around singing it all the time. So, yeah. Oh, fabulous. Well, we can't wait to see that and anything else you produce in the future, because it's just been fabulous. Thank you for putting such a wonderful works out to inspire us all. Thank you again as well for your time and expertise. Can you share with our listeners where they can discover you and your work on and offline?
Okay, so you can find me online at shirleymarr.net, and you can also find me on Instagram, where I'm pretty active. And as for my books, you can find me in all good bookstores and like all the back.
Fabulous. Well, thanks so much, Shirley. That has been amazing.
Thank you so much, Jo, for having me on your show. I've had a great time.
So there you have it, folks. The super inspiring Shirley Marr sharing her secrets and tips on writing authentic character voice. A Glass House of Stars is incredible. Both read it and buy it now. My writing and knowledge was all the more richer after having read Shirley's work, and I hope that you feel the same. Next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast, we have author, academic and Fremantle Press publisher Georgia Richter talking about her and Deborah Hunn's publication, How to Be an Author, the Business of Being a Writer in Australia. And she shares her expertise on having an author career. So best of luck in your author adventure for the next fortnight. That's it from me. Bye for now. That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.